I just actually wanted to come on and I came in late yesterday, like before or after you kind of talked about me, and dude, I was dying with the F Lance thing, dude, and um, man, bottom line is, dude, like you're very like witty and quick, and you're good at this, man. So I just wanted to show my love and just say, dude, I just think it's hilarious, man. Like the back and forth and um, but yeah, the F Lance thing, I was like.
What I like about you is that you don't lose your sense of humor or you're cool. Like on that spaces, you just had hella people being like, "Oh, you're a casual," and you're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I appreciate that.
I
I
mean, and that's
appreciate that.
tough, man. And that's what it's like, because when I first like started out giving my opinion and stuff, I mean, it wasn't immediately like, oh, Lance is trash and whatever. It was like, I don't know about this guy, man. Like, this is what I'm seeing and whatever. And I was still
That's fair.
being called racist and, this and that and name call. And then it kind of turned into like, okay, now I'm just gonna talk shit because and I'm just gonna try to, you know, get under these guys' skin sort of. And so,
Yeah, that's
that's
it is kind of what it is, right? It's not necessarily about Lance, but it's about Lance's fans, right? I
right.
feel like that's what this war is. It's not necessarily like I hate this quarterback. It's like, man, I hate your fans. And that's how Lance fans
Yeah.
feels about Jimmy. Like, man, I hate Jimmy fans. When really
Right.
like both these quarterbacks are like, we're kind of friends.
Yeah.
Like we didn't
Exactly.
choose to work together. We basically like each other. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Exactly, man. And it's
Yeah.
like, because if you ask like a Trey fan, like what their thoughts about Jimmy is, like their honest thoughts, they're probably going to say he's a mid quarterback, which is true. And then if you ask
That's what I
most
would say.
Jimmy guys, like I'm a Jimmy guy, but still I
Right.
think what is he, an elite quarterback? No, he
Yeah.
clearly was not an elite quarterback. So
Yeah.
I think they even like agree on Jimmy and
That.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And but it comes down to, whether or not, from my perspective, is like I was always down to move on from Jimmy as long as it's a better option. And
Right.
I don't believe Trey is a better option right now. And so that's my biggest point. Whereas I think
Hold on,
most
real quick
Trey,
though. Sorry to
yeah,
cut you off, but like I'm with you every step of the way that what you just said.
mm-hmm,
Still though, the way you frame your criticisms are like 99% at Trey, and it's kind of like with me and
mm-hmm,
Kinlaw, right? Like I was against the trade for Kinlaw, but I try to make it clear that it's like, man, that was John Lynch's mistake. You can't
mm-hmm.
just trade DeForest Buckner for a college player, give him Buckner's number, and say no one's going to know the difference. Like that's setting the kid up for failure. Obviously, Javon didn't take it that way, and we had to hash it out. But like, I was trying to make that clear. Like, Javon, I know your story. I know you're a young man. Definitely not rooting against you. And when I level this
Mm-hmm.
criticism, it's 100% leveled at John Lynch. So,
Right,
but that's
yeah,
a distinction
yeah,
I wanted to make. I don't think you really care.
for sure. Well, and my again, like this is where it's tough because that's my first, my first thoughts when the trade up and then the drafting of Trey Lance, when that first happened, I was like, this is going to cost Trey and John Lynch their job. Like this move, because I didn't
Trey
think
and
it was
John
going to,
Lynch or Kyle and
or
John Lynch?
sorry,
Kyle.
Kyle and John
Okay.
Lynch.
Okay. Okay.
Like
Okay.
this is going to be the end of them. And I think I would still be standing by that if not
If
for
it weren't
finding
for
Purdy.
Brock, if it weren't for
Exactly.
Brock, it might have already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so ultimately, and what
That
I'm
being
thinking is,
said, though, like, let me ask you this: when people say, like, man, it's really hard to write off a quarterback after 4 starts, like, that does
mm,
nothing to you? Nothing? Doesn't move you at all? 4 starts, 100 throws.
this is where it gets tough, where it's like, if I think it's like either he needs to be the best quarterback on the team and show that, or when he gets his opportunity, he needs to take it like Brock did.
Are you saying that he essentially is not the right quarterback for the 49ers, but he could work out elsewhere, or he just freaking sucks?
No, I'm saying like in I think he needs 3 years minimum before we're gonna know to dial in this stuff. And
So you're saying
and
he
that
could work out elsewhere, maybe?
I think given where he is now, because we're basically in the third year and he hasn't had, you know,
I mean, he's 2 years younger than Stetson Bennett.
right, but because of like his contract with the Niners, I think if it is gonna work out, he's not gonna be here. Because I don't think he's gonna get these
Right,
things
that's what I'm
figured
asking you.
out.
That's what I'm asking you.
Right,
That's exactly what I'm
right.
asking you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think if it is going to work out, it's going to be somewhere else. I don't think it's going to
I'm
be
starting
here,
to feel
which
that
is
way too.
yeah, which is another reason where I'm like, hey, like because of the timeline and everything, he if he is going to figure it out, he's not likely going to be here because the Niners are going to have to work it out.
I got direct questions for you. Okay, let's say the Niners ultimately agree with you and trade Trey Lance for like a sixth before the season starts. Like, he sucks. We don't need him. But we got Brandon Allen and Darnold and all these guys. At that point, if you were proven correct, is traded for nothing, would you at that point criticize the front office for essentially lighting 3 first-round picks on fire? At that point, it depends.
Here's the thing. Like, and what I was gonna say was if Brock wins a Super Bowl and this team in this window wins a Super Bowl, I don't care.
That.
Right. If they don't, then they deserve criticism regardless. Regardless, they need to win a Super Bowl in this window.
And I don't like when they say, well, we came close. Like, yeah, well, you might have won the whole damn thing.
Right.
Even with Jimmy, if you hadn't, like, I'm not a Jimmy guy, but damn, I feel like maybe in 2021, they might have been able to beat the Rams in the playoffs if they had Penei Sewell at right tackle. Like, they already beat the Rams twice with Jimmy G. They already beat the Bengals with Jimmy G. Like, it was this close.
Yeah. They had enough. Yeah.
You might have had enough that year. Like, it'd be tough to beat Patrick Mahomes with Jimmy Garoppolo, but you didn't have to beat Patrick Mahomes that year.
Right.
That was the year.
And I mean, that's kind of my thing too. It's like, people are like, oh, well, he can't beat Patrick Mahomes in a shootout. No one's beating Patrick Mahomes in a shootout. You have to beat him like the Tampa Bay Bucks beat him in the Super Bowl, where it's not a shootout, where he's stifled, or it's a different type of game. If you get into a game that's a shootout with Patrick Mahomes, you're probably going to lose because he's Patrick Mahomes and you don't have him. And so it's tough. You have to find a different way to beat him.
For you. How do you reconcile the fact that Kyle Shanahan likes quarterbacks with big arms, wanted Trey Lance, wanted Kirk Cousins, brought in Sam Darnold? Like, to me, I feel like the Jimmy G, Brock Purdy type quarterback is much more what John Lynch looks for, because he won a Super Bowl with Brad Johnson. Think about that.
Yeah, I think it's it's kind of like a cherry on top kind of thing. It's like you want to get the guy with all of the tools, right? But ultimately, his offense is going to be 80% intermediate.
Yeah, everyone's offense is for sure.
And so he's and I guess in my opinion, it's like, yeah, you want a guy that has the arm to make that throw whenever it can get there, but he's not gonna go with someone who struggles.
Not gonna sacrifice.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
of course.
And so but ultimately we'll see, man. I will say this: the one thing that's weird is the Niners could come out. Well, who was the dude that just came out? I'm terrible memory with names, but he was the old player that just came out like two days ago, Schlereth or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Schlereth. Yeah. Like, why don't the Niners come out and say this is bullshit? Like this.
Thank you. I'm with you on that, man. They do that. I remember a couple years ago, I wrote that I heard that they were considering trading for Jamal Adams, because I heard that from someone in the league, and they ultimately didn't. And then John Lynch went on KMBR. Was like, I just want to say I was never interested in Jamal Adams. Like, okay, well, thanks. You didn't have to do that, but I'm glad you set the record straight. Why don't you do that now? Any number of opportunities to do that right now. And it's like, even if you don't believe it, you might want to trade him. So why?
Well, here's my thing though. If you did want to trade him, wouldn't you come out and say, that's bullshit, we love Trey, he looks great, and that sort of thing? Okay. So the fact that they're not coming out and saying it almost makes me think that they don't want to trade him. And that to me is like almost screwing with my mind more, because I'm like, wait, maybe they don't want to trade him and they don't care. They want people to think he sucks, because then when he gets out in the field.
The way I look at it is, I don't know that Kyle and John are necessarily working together on this quarterback thing. I think they've kind of been working at odds for years. So perhaps Kyle is the one like, all right, man, project whatever you want to project on me, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do.
Right. Right. It's weird. It's weird because at this point, dude, with all these reports coming out, I guess clearly he didn't have a trade value. Now he clearly doesn't have a trade value. So what's your deal? Like, what's your plan? Is it just to not play him
to tank his trade value as much as you possibly can and then play him?
Take
his confidence, take his trade value.
And maybe it is so that they don't get criticized when they don't play him.
Or just lower the bar. So if he does anything, they're like, genius.
Right.
Genius.
Yeah, look at what we did.
Like, I got to go, man. But thank you, man.
All right, man.
Thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Appreciate it, bro.